Welcome to Campus Conversations, brought to you by UCL's Student Success Team, your go-to podcast for all things student life at University College London. On today's episode, we're talking about sports, interests and hobbies. As usual, we'll have some topic-related questions in the hat that we'll pick out and discuss. I'm Sophia, I'm a final year comparative literature student.
I'm Kira and I'm a second year biomedical engineering student.
I'm Inara and I'm a second year in history, politics and economics. And it's up to me to pick the topic today. So let's shake her up. Geo. Okay. Let's see. Okay, yeah, we can do this one. In tough economic times, government funding for the arts is usually the first to receive cuts. What, in your opinion, is the value of studying and engaging with arts such as music, dance, or literature?
Ooh.
I feel like I'm very biased about this one. This is like my niche. I just think we have like an endless stream of things to learn from the arts. Like literature and theatre especially are made with such like intention. Like I think you'll never watch a show that hasn't been crafted like to every specific detail, like with the purpose of teaching something or like educating people about something. And like theatre nowadays especially is constantly seeking to like amplify the voices of underrepresented communities, and it's great.
Art connects people of different cultures, different generations, and I think that definitely leads to a more empathetic society. I feel like a society that values creativity and art is a society that's more empathetic.
What do you think specifically about the government funding aspect of it? Because I totally agree with the value of arts, but government funding is a big question as to whether, you know, a lot of these like theatres, most of them aren't really profit making. So, I mean, what do you think about should the government fund them? I think they should, because for listed reasons above, but what are your views in that sense?
I definitely feel like funding is required because art, like I said, it connects people and also it can help mental health as well. Art is, in my opinion, art is freedom. It's about expression, discovery, and like finding what your own passion is. And I think art it's essentially what gives people their purpose. Like if you think logic, analytics, and like numbers, they help the world run. They kind of run society, I guess, but art gives us the will to live, I think.
So that's a quote from Dead Poets.
Yeah.
Is it like the one where it's like these? They list STEM subjects and say these are noble pursuits, and then the other one where it's like, but these arts are stuff for the soul, something like that.
It's
but
true though. Yeah. It is really true.
And I also I hate the narrative that like the arts are somehow lesser than science or maths or
No, this is really random, but like my A-level choices, I did physics, maths and art. And so whenever I'd give that combo, they'd be like, art? Like, why? And I'd be like, why not? Why not? Yeah. And I think that subject literally saved me. Like, I loved it so much. And it was definitely such a stress reliever. I know that other people who did A-level art might argue otherwise because it is quite stressful.
I heard some other things about fine art,
but I genuinely think, personally, it was such a good choice. Coming into uni and as an engineering student, I found it really difficult to stay in touch with my creative side. And honestly, I do get quite upset thinking about it because I grew up very creative as well. Like I was always drawing something. Like I would force my mom to hang my drawings on the wall, even though they were literally so rubbish. But anyway, art, I think, is definitely part of my identity, and I think as a STEM student, it has gone really difficult to maintain that. I've tried to do sessions with like Art Society, and essentially it is up to me now to like produce my own art, stay in touch with that side, because it's not like I have, you know, art lessons from A-levels to force me to do art. I have found it really difficult.
I definitely considered drama school, and like I'm still considering it like as a master's or after UCL, but I've just had the best experience with arts within UCL. Like I've honestly had like so many opportunities, and even within my course I've been able to take like drama modules. Like this term I'm doing a dramaturgy module in the classics department, and I've done so many theatre modules, and then like obviously in extracurricular societies we have access to the Bloomsbury Theatre and the Bloomsbury Studio, and like it's like there are so many opportunities within arts within UCL. Like we have such a massive arts community that it doesn't feel like I necessarily sacrifice anything by doing academics alongside that.
For my course, we do quite a bit of designing, and so I do get to tune into my creative side a little bit, but probably not as much as I wish. But again, like it's up to me to pursue that myself, because I don't think my degree will provide the creative elements that I want.
One of my special subjects is material culture, so I have to pick, well, you don't have to do a special subject, you can do a freestanding dissertation, but I'm leaning towards special subject just because it's easier to get it done. And one of them is material culture in the Soviet Union, so it's just mainly arts in the Soviet Union, which is super interesting. And we have a huge film collection as well, like of Soviet films, so I do feel like I'm able to explore like that kind of film, things that I'm interested in too. UCL's quite good for it, I think, but just like you mentioned, I don't feel like I've lost anything by doing a degree and then having the option to do a graduate job, but also having explored my interests in a way that I really like.
Should I pick the next one?
Yeah, I think it's a nice
Should I shake it up
topic.
as well? Okay, I'll go for this one. Has the rise of digital photography, particularly smartphone cameras, diminished the artistry and value of traditional photography methods like film?
I did GCSE photography.
Oh
so
my gosh.
This is a fun question. TLDR, no. Long and too long didn't read. Like, you know, the abbreviation thing on like on like Reddit when people say too long didn't read and it's just a sentence instead of like their whole story. But so TLDR, but yeah. I think no. Like there was more of an appreciation of like cameras and like physical ways of sort of using, I don't know, taking pictures, things like that. I think you appreciate it more because it's not as widespread. So I think we all have like a friend that brings a digital camera when you go on a night out, and then like you get the pictures in a couple of days and they're like, guys, the pictures turned out so nice. And I'm like, yes. And I think you appreciate it more because it is sort of that physical way and you stay present. So yeah, I mean, the less there is of something, like the more rare it becomes and the more valued it is, right? So yeah, but what do you guys think?
I feel like smartphone cameras are more accessible than traditional photography methods, because film nowadays is so expensive, like incredibly expensive, which is why I feel like more people turn to smartphone cameras now.
Within Arts UCL, like there are so many photographers, and like every time you're part of a show, a student photographer will come in and like take insane pictures, or they'll do like headshots for the program and the Instagram, and like people are really talented, and it's great to see like on social media people using. So I definitely do see like a lot of student photography happening in that side of it.
That's the thing, like the only, like, to play devil's advocate, the only like bad side of it is sometimes it's so much that you don't even realize what you're consenting to. Like my friend sent me, both of them actually on like the same week, sent me a video of myself, and I was like, where did you get that? It was like, you're on the Student Union website. I'm like on the student, and I was like, what? And I opened the Student Union page and I'm like on there, and I was like, oh my god. It's not like a bad video, but I was just like, why am I on here?
No, this is really random, but I was just sitting in the IOE, like, you know those seats, like when you walk into the IOE, there's just like this seating area. I was just doing my own thing, and I turned around, there's a camera like literally next to me, like taking a picture of me. Like I had to get up and leave, because I was like, no way am I
you
being
can't
on
let your guard
whatever.
down, honestly.
I know.
It's even like people
constantly
visiting, right? Do you have that? Like tourists? Like they'll be like, this is like, they'll be on their phones, but they'll just be filming the students, and I'm like, can you not film me, please?
Okay. Generations often criticised by previous ones for being less resilient or snowflakey. Do you think that human resilience is becoming weaker, or is it that modern challenges are becoming more complex?
It's the same thing for every generation. There was like a post about this in like 1812 of a newspaper complaining about this generation not wanting to work. So
Yeah.
I think it's just a cycle.
I also think that like a lot of the issues that we're facing in modern society have like developed and like weren't necessarily present, like had more pressing issues and like concerns about climate change, or you know, increased conversation around mental health. It doesn't mean that like it wasn't an issue, but like obviously there's been a societal shift towards talking about it more. That doesn't mean like people are snowflakey now. It just means that people are more open to discussing without stigma.
I just think every generation has their own issues, own problems. Like it doesn't take away like the intensity or the severity of the issue. I just think we all just go through different things.
I think sometimes people take advantage of extensions at university, especially I think now, don't we have like a rule that's like you can get a DAP or you can get like 2 DAPs or something a year with no questions asked? Not that like there needs to be loads of questioning, but I think sometimes people use it just because they didn't prepare and they're like, oh well, I could do with having a few more days, and it's not necessarily for like good reason, it's just procrastination.
I've never used a DAP.
Me
Like I
neither.
haven't used one yet, but I think I like the idea of it being there, just in case, because you never know like what might come up. Honestly, I do quite like the ideas of DAPs and like not being asked about why you need an extension, for instance, because I think me personally, I only would get an extension if it was like really, really needed, or if I get really bad anxiety, so like if I had like a full-on anxiety attack, and I probably would not want to tell my lecturer that, and so I kind of like the idea that I will get what I need without being interrogated on it. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm an avid user, but I use them more than you guys, obviously. But then the thing is, that was before I got my ADHD diagnosis. So to friends, it would have just looked like, OMG, you're just not preparing, or you had no reason to actually need that extension, when I didn't know that I was dealing with a neurodivergent condition. So now that I do have the permanent summary of reasonable adjustments, I saw it in place. It is like my net, and I do often just use it because just the way my brain works, like I just need that extra time. And again, with ADAPT, the way that the system was for extensions before, you had to give a very long, detailed explanation as to what it was. So if you've had like the most horrible thing happen to you and one of your immediate family members passed away or something, you'd have to describe that, you'd have to get a death certificate and put that in there, which is just like ridiculous. So I think the system now is how it kind of should have been already. So yeah, there's a lot of nuances to it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is the gym/exercise culture contributing to negative body image and unrealistic beauty standards, or is it empowering people to take control of their health? I have another question as well. Did you guys see the controversy of that woman that was like, oh, my favourite thing is to be skinny? And everyone was like getting angry.
That's everyone now, though.
Oh,
Do you
I
remember
saw the
that?
thing that was
Yeah.
like not eating so I can wear a tiny bikini over
Yeah.
summer.
No,
Like,
yeah.
that's not.
Yeah.
It's not. Eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot to say about this topic.
Yeah.
It is a very prevalent issue currently, like with the rise of Ozempic, with the rise of, I don't know, diet culture again. People are saying that we're going back to, was it the early 2000s where it was at
Skinny
its
is back
peak?
in.
Yeah.
that.
Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels.
Okay,
Oh,
Moss.
yeah.
Okay,
Mm.
Moss. Yeah. Since you go to the gym, I go to the gym too, so I'll go after you.
Great.
What are your opinions on this?
This is the thing, like if I was just like a general bodybuilder, and also like in the strength sports, I think it's different, like the type of, it's not really so much like what kind of body type is pushed, but more just within weightlifting in particular, just like the bigger you are, like the more muscle you have, that's like the best, right? So like when you go to like national competitions, you'll just see like everyone is jacked,
Yeah.
which is like it's great 'cause you don't feel out of place. Sometimes I do like it was odd adjusting to it. Like people be like, oh yeah, like love your muscles, but like I'm like I don't really like that everyone's like commenting on that all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like I know it's something that you're supposed to like after working on your body for a few years and doing like strength sports, it is something to be proud of, but also I don't know, I used to feel quite uncomfortable because I'd be like, I don't know, I feel like a spectacle, like especially in like commercial gyms. So moving over to like only training with people that are also in strength sport makes me feel more comfortable body image wise. But exercise culture is something else though, so like the Pilates and more like social media stuff, so I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say about that.
We do worry about our bodies quite a lot. And I think even me, I chased the smallest version of myself for like years of my life. And only around 2 years ago, I found like my frontal lobe developed. And I realized that what am I even doing? Strong is beautiful.
Yeah.
Being strong is beautiful. I feel like people should be more focused on strength and well-being as opposed to aesthetics. It is really difficult, like even to this day, I find it quite difficult due to the media that I consume on social media. It can make it really difficult to remember that you should prioritize your health over anything else. Fitness influencers, they definitely do, or they can provide a very, very unrealistic expectations on what you should look like. There was this one influencer who I was following, this one gym influencer, and turns out this whole time she had a BBL. Like,
That's like half of them, but
like, okay. And I just think it really does ruin your perception on like what you should look like why do I look like this when I should be looking like this gym influencer who had a BBL this whole time. Yeah, and even with gym journeys, I feel like it is easy to compare yourself to these gym influencers if you have been going to the gym around the same time as them. I've been going for quite a while, but I look nothing like this one girl that I've been following who has gone around the same time as me, and like it has to do with genetics, all of this, all of that, and people just forget that. And I think you really need to be mindful and critical of what you consume.
I'm in two minds because I think there definitely are like accounts that are trying to promote it in a healthy way, but I think the vast majority are just far too extreme. Like the number of what I eat in a day, calorie deficit videos that I get on like TikTok or any kind of fitness video, fitness content, they always begin the video with like body checks, and I'm like, but why? Because if you're just promoting like the healthiest version of yourself, then why are you like advocating this ideal of like how a body should look?
I don't know if we can like say the name of her YouTube channel, but you know the one that does the ab workouts that everyone was doing during COVID time?
Oh yeah.
I'm
sorry.
But like she was like really bad. Like that was that the her as an influencer. I mean, everyone would know what I'm talking about, but her as an influencer coincides with a negative body image. But now that I've been, I think my sports especially, they promote like positive body image. Your body's like fuel, like food is fuel, etc. kind of thing. So I don't think about it anymore. But it was bad when I was on that side of exercise culture.
Yeah.
Instead of, I feel like when you channel it into a sport, you're just training for sport specific things. So it's more about performance than it is how you look. And of course on your team, like depending on who does what, you all look kind of different. So yeah.
And also there are like a lot of influencers that are trying to undo the damage of others.
Yeah.
And like a lot of influencers that are like, so this is how a real body looks, and like this is what like a real day of eating looks like, and you can't hold yourself to impossible standards. So I think, like you said, you do just need to be mindful about the kind of content that you're consuming.
I think before, as a young person on social media, when I would watch those what I eat in a days, I would think, oh, if I ate like that, I would look like that. But no, there's a lot that goes into it. And I just think a lot of misinformation is spread on social media. And just because, like, if you copy out what someone does verbatim, that does not mean that you're going to look like them. And I think I'm so glad that I've grown out of that and I've focused on, being strong instead, being healthy, because now I'm so much more confident than I was when I was literally, like I said, chasing this tiniest version of myself. You will gain weight during university. Like apparently it's just a thing where you will either get apparently really skinny or just like really fat during university. It's hard to look after yourself during university because, well, I lived at home, but I know that people have to cook for themselves. People are in charge of their own food shopping, in charge of their own nutrition basically. And personally, I struggled with finding the time to make balanced meals, finding time to literally eat even. And I think that has, I don't know, I do see that quite a lot within university life where they find it really hard to take care of their bodies.
Yeah, I completely agree. Also, like, it's expensive to eat healthily as a student.
Yeah.
And, like, it's expensive to have a gym membership. And, yeah, it's tricky balancing those things as a uni student.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of, like, content on social media that's like, oh, this is meal prepping on a budget for students, or, like, things like that, which are helpful.
Things like gym memberships or like anything related to that is a necessity for me because it's my sport. So I think about it differently. So it's not like an additional thing in my head. I understand how it can be an additional thing and it's difficult to keep up with if it's just like an additional thing that you do. But for me, it's like, it's my sport. So it's non-negotiable. It happens. 4 days out of a week, I will be training. It doesn't matter. Like, if I have to move a session or if I have to maybe like skip a class or something, sometimes that has to happen. But yeah. So it depends on where it is in your life. I do understand that it's just convenient for me because it's already like a have to do that I have to do anyway. Yeah.
How are you finding that balance between, your sport and uni? Because the gym isn't my sport. I just like, I just go to it like for fun, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it'll be quite different for you who has to do. You don't have to do, but like you get what I mean.
In my head it's like I have to do it. Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, like I talk about it with my other friends and that are also struggling, and it's like time-wise, especially like around exam season, you just have to. Worst case scenario, you just split up your days. So if I know that I need to study, okay, I will start my workout. Like I'll do this, focus on these exercises, and then study, and then come back at the end of the day and finish it off. So that's how I've had to just start splitting up my days because a full training session is like 2 hours, and it's like I have to split it up. And also it's a thing where some people can study after training. Or I was talking about this with a friend where he was like, he has to do it right at the end of the day and the gym is open until like 10, 11-ish, the UCL one anyway. When he's like, no, I need to do all my studying and then go because after this I'm like too exhausted to do anything else. So yeah, but when you have an essay due, you'll have to work through the exhaustion. So that's the thing, it's a necessity, so you have to do it. Yeah.
Doesn't that get quite overwhelming, would you say?
I mean, I think once you get used to it, not quite.
Okay.
It can be, but like again, it's things like, I mean, you can't compare it to brushing your teeth, but like, do you know what I mean? It's like you know that you have to do it. Like I know that I have to eat every day. I know that I have to study every day. It's just like you just find time to fit it in, but it does leave me exhausted.
That's interesting because I don't know. I think it's so subjective because like when I'm really busy, exercise is like the first thing to go.
Yeah.
And honestly, so is like eating healthy. Like if I have a really busy week, I'm like, well, I'm not going to be doing any exercise this week because I literally don't have enough hours in the day. So I think it's so like dependent from person to person.
I think like if it wasn't for my sport, because then sport gives you access to nutritionists and like so many other aspects. So it's from that I've learned how to generally maintain a healthy lifestyle and prioritize exercise.
Your appearance and what you look like is literally the least significant thing about yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that was a huge thing for me because before I'd be so caught up in the fact that everyone is probably analysing what I look like, but come on, like
that's just
no.
not.
Yeah. And when I realised that, people won't remember you for what you look like, but rather how kind you are, how you treated them. When I finally realised that, I think that shifted my perspective completely, and I definitely live a happier, more fulfilled life.
I also think like one of the main things in developing healthy habits is like talking to other people and knowing that like you're not the only person that's ever had these kind of thoughts, and like most people, if not all people, have experienced body image issues or you know, issues with exercise or diet culture, whatever. And so like talking to people about it in a healthy way and like encouraging that discussion is also helpful.
Yeah, surrounding the people who you surround yourself with is so important.
Yeah.
Like, I think the fact that I was surrounded by people who had healthy attitudes towards this, that I think that was honestly the reason why I managed to progress as much as I have. Yeah, and also making sure that the media you consume isn't promoting all of these unhealthy, toxic things, which can be hard though, because some people might be in a place where they can't distinguish whether between material that's healthy for them, unhealthy. So, yeah, it can be quite difficult for.
I also think like, sorry,
No, go on, yeah.
like calling out bad behavior and unhealthy attitudes when you see them. Like, I find it so jarring when I hear anybody commenting on what other people are eating. Like, I just find it so annoying. I'm like, keep it to yourself.
I mean, like, top tip is only follow dietitians and nutritionists, like my nutritionists. I think like half of my feed they're just doctors now. So general, because before, like when you're like a teen, I think it would have been sort of just people that, okay, I want to look like her, so I'm going to get advice about what she eats. But now it's more just, I only have doctors and nutritionists telling me what is good for you to eat on my food, which makes sense. You shouldn't have anyone else. Yeah, no one else is licensed to give you that information. So, yeah.
Like, I remember, I don't know if they've ever come up on like your TikTok food page, but like there are these two girls who give the most crazy advice about how to stay skinny. And I remember one of them being like, you shouldn't wear a jacket if it's cold outside because being cold
I've heard that.
because being cold like increases your metabolism, so you'll burn more calories and you'll be skinny if you're cold. And I remember there was so dumb. I saw this guy on TikTok like calling them out, being like, what the hell? Someone take away that platform. And I think he was qualified, which is I feel like the minimum the minimum that you need to give out this type of advice. But yeah, you just see like these crazy things on the internet, and there are people impressionable people who will literally take that literally.
Yeah.
And so
And young people as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's very easy to say it at like the age of 20, 21, but I probably didn't have the same attitudes when I was 15, and I could have like done with speaking to people who did have healthier attitudes when I was 15. Give it a shake.
oh
Well, yeah, it's like
too loud. They literally did not move. Okay. Oh my gosh, sorry. Okay. Share a culture other than your own that you respect and appreciate, and tell us why. And then discuss whether there is or needs to be a line drawn between appreciation and appropriation.
This is the thing that I think it's a bit easier for me just because I'm in an area studies department. You wouldn't study that unless you weren't interested in that area. And then if you're not, you'll just switch departments, I guess. Siberian cultures in general are really interesting to me, because I think I got there because I was initially interested in Native American cultures. And for my first year, I was at the Institute of the Americas, and then I switched. But like the whole land bridge theory of how the Native Americans sort of got to where they are, and how they're connected to sort of native people in Siberia and sort of northern, not Europe, but I guess like, it's not Europe, but northern Asia, I guess, yeah. So it's not one culture in particular, but that group of cultures. We get to look at them a lot, study them, and of course I'd love to travel there at some point. So hopefully they make a summer school where we can travel there, and like UCL kind of funds it. But in terms of like appropriation and like where the line would be drawn, so like I have like a really good band, like I think they're called Otiken, but they're a Siberian band. And so in terms of like listening to their music, or maybe like if I was to visit there, buying like traditional clothing at stores, the appreciation part I think would come from really being intentional, understanding what it is, if you are wearing it or if you post it, taking the time to share what it is, you know, and share that culture with other people. Whereas I think on the other side, appropriation would be, gee, like, look at these cool fur boots, when you know they're not just like cool fur boots, but like a specific, you know, I mean, like a specific Siberian traditional way of making the boots. So yeah, there is quite a clear line, I'd say.
Do you remember that that picture of Adele in like,
Oh,
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
in your opinion, was that appreciation or appropriation?
I think the thing is that with the context that she's from London as well, it's an interesting one. Like, I don't know, like, because she had the Bantu knots and stuff, but it's not like she was out here saying, "Oh yeah, these are like some new hair knots that I did created." And this is like a random.
She's British.
Oh yeah, but you know what I mean. Like the American would be. I mean, I'm sorry, but like it happens to be more often Americans that are doing this. They'd be like, you know, yeah, she's not out there like saying, oh yeah, these are like some knots that I, you know, it was clearly for, and I think she was there for carnival, so she was just dressed like everyone else would be. But I don't know what your views were on that.
I think like the fundamental problem with celebrities is that like this debate about appreciation versus appropriation is that like appreciating is engaging with elements of a culture in like a respectful way, whereas appropriation is like engaging with them for your own benefit in a way that's kind of exploiting that culture. And I'm not sure that celebrities can do it in a way that isn't exploitative just because they have such a massive platform. So like if you're like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. There are some that do it right. Like there are some that genuinely take the time to like travel for 3 months and they happen to share it on social media that they're traveling to this place, and they'll like do like Instagram lives and they'll like give space for Indigenous people to talk about what it is that they're doing. I mean, like the only person that comes to my head, I'm trying to think, but there are like, I'm sure that I follow somewhere, like Jason Momoa. I think he is Hawaiian, but he also does a lot of work with other Indigenous communities, like Pacific ones, and he does like full on Instagram lives where he's letting like the person that's like made his hat talk about what it comes from and the origins and stuff, and his whole page is just like, so people, he's not a good example because like of his views on other things, but for this conversation, like cultural appropriation versus appreciation, yes, but yeah.
Like I think mentioning when you mentioned how people exploit it, celebrities exploit it, I feel like that is quite it's a very common thing. Like I just thought about Sabrina Carpenter, and she was wearing a shirt, I think, where it said Jesus was a carpenter.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of
She had that whole like feather music video thing as well.
Yeah.
The nuns and
like I know a lot of people didn't appreciate that. I don't know if I'm allowed to find that funny. Like I'm a Christian, but like I'm a Catholic, but I low-key found that funny. But I don't know, for others it might not
I feel
be.
like Jesus was a carpenter, isn't that?
I was like, good one, but I'm not sure.
witty.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that,
Yeah.
but I guess like people are mad.
I know that a lot of
Fair
people,
enough, though.
yeah, they didn't appreciate that.
Yeah,
But
yeah, there you go.
But specific to like cultures, I think with celebrities, it's like sometimes it feels like, oh look, this is like my new hairstyle. I'm like, no, this is a culture and it comes from like a long history and tradition. And
yeah,
it's important to acknowledge that.
Can we talk about? I'm sorry, but can we talk about Ariana Grande's racial phases?
Racial phases
Racial
is
phases.
crazy.
The Black Yana.
ethnic eras.
And then there was, there was somebody that did like a montage.
Yeah.
There was the Black Yana where she was like, "That's my juice." You know what? And then there was the Asian era.
Yeah, the
for her.
arigato one.
The arigato Ariana. What era she? Now she's in, I don't know, ethereal era. That's what it is. Yeah.
No, she's in Glinda
Glinda
era.
era. Yes.
Oh dear.
She had. Oh yeah, she was in her Italian X and then her Latin X era.
She's Italian.
Yes, but she was like really into it at the time, right? But now she's like, that's what I'm saying. Before her Black Yana era, it was like that was her era where she was like embracing her own culture. And then I don't know how she got down the slippery slope of today, but yeah,
Yeah, the montages are really like crazy.
so bad.
Like it's so bad that she ever thought that was
okay.
just normal behaviour.
Yeah.
Filipino society throws amazing boat parties, and I've missed every single one, and I need to go to at least one before.
Yeah, I went to the
everyone
one-
goes to those.
Really?
Everyone goes to Filipino
Aw.
boat society, and I'm like, what? And you just see it like one evening, your whole story, and I'm like, how did I miss the other? Like, I missed it again. Yeah.
Oh,
So shout out to them.
that's really nice.
And yeah, but shout
I
out to
appreciate
y'all.
that.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. They're just really good. Like, I mean, in Filipino society in general, it's quite mixed. Like, loads of people are in that. And cultural-wise as well, I celebrated my first Diwali this academic year with friends that I met at UCL. So I love the international community.
In June, I went on the like Access UCL widening participation.
Oh wow! Oh my gosh, tell us about that.
It was incredible. So we went to Vietnam for a week.
Oh my god.
And like I've never like been out of Europe before, so like it was just a really incredible experience. And we went to we were staying in Hanoi, but we went to like this self-sufficient village kind of like on the outskirts of Vietnam, and it was just so like eye-opening to see how people are living in such like a different way. And they taught us about how they fish and how they like get their rice and stuff, and it was just like honestly inspiring. Like one of the probably the best experience of my life so far. So that was definitely a culture that I was like very, very privileged to be introduced to. With the increase of women and girls' participation in sports such as football and basketball, what more can be done to increase participation, and should sports still be separated by gender?
Yes.
A long one.
Sorry, but yes. I will die on the hill as somebody, as I just grew up as a female athlete, like absolutely. It doesn't mean that there shouldn't be spaces for non-cisgender athletes. There definitely should be a different place or arena for them to be able to perform at the highest level in their sports. But if I go back to the Paralympics didn't always exist, and when the conversation did come around about how do we include athletes that are quadriplegic or athletes that have limited sight, yeah, of course, one of the suggestions was just let them compete in the Olympics, but it's not fair. It's not fair to other people in some instances, but it's also not fair to those differently abled people. In the same way, competing against cisgender people and non-cisgender people going into that environment in a way that it could be a disadvantage to the cisgender people, it could also be a disadvantage to those non-cisgender people coming in. So it's not a level playing field, and the whole point of competing against someone and why they split it up with gender is to make sure that it's a level playing field. I completely get the arguments of inclusion, which in that case, that energy needs to be redirected into creating a league or a space for people like transgender athletes to be able to compete. But in terms of sports, it's fine how it is.
I think at like youth and recreational levels, like there should be spaces for mixed sports. But yeah, I agree that like at a professional level, for fairness, separation is kind of necessary. But in terms of like, I can't remember how the question started. Participation for women and girls, and like how to increase that. Like it comes back, everything I think comes back to like education, funding, and like creating these spaces of inclusivity from an early age, like media coverage. Like obviously with the Euros a couple of years ago, like that was such an amazing like turning point in the way that women's sports are viewed. And I think it's great to see like girls now will have such a different experience of like football than when we were growing up, and like women's football has come so far in terms of its perception in society than it was literally like 5 years ago. Thanks for tuning in to Campus Conversations. We hope you had as much fun listening as we did chatting. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and follow us on our various podcast streaming platforms linked in the bio. If you've got a story, question, or topic you'd like us to cover, the link is in the description. Until next time on Campus Conversations.